It's January 28th, 2017, and the brand new Eachine Aurora 90mm FPV racing drone has arrived. I saw this thing in the Banggood newsletter and I was really curious about them. Sent them an email. They said, sure, you can test it out. Took it about 12 to 14 days to get out here. They're selling this for about 145 bucks, and if you're going to lay down 145 bucks on an FPV racer, you really want to get your money's worth. And let's take a look at what they've put together here. This is, I think, the same team that's been putting together these Nano brushed racing aircraft like the QX90 here, and this ducted Nano racing QX70 or QX73 here. This thing, a lot of people picked one of these up expecting a good flight experience, but with ducted fan aircraft, you have a different flight experience than you do with something that uses traditional propellers. You're going to get a more nimble aircraft with propellers. There is going to be more prop wash, though, and it's going to be a little less stable. With a ducted fan aircraft, you get this extreme stability that you just don't get with other aircraft. I mean, they're rock steady. The E010 here is a great example. This was one of Eachine's nicest little tiny indoor and outdoor aircraft. It's not FPV, and they do have an FPV version of this, but the ducts on these, they just aren't as powerful as something like traditional propellers are. I mean, this Chaser 88 right here, this thing can really run really fast and it can really turn really quick and hard, but it is lacking in stability, whereas the Aurora here, and when you call something the Aurora, it's because it's supposed to look beautiful in the sky. I'm guessing that's something I can picture a group of people sitting around a table coming up with, but this aircraft has really solved a lot of the problems that we've seen with the QX70 here, and of course the Fat B right here, which a lot of people have noticed has really fragile ducts, is a 7.4 volt 2-cell brushed motor ducted fan aircraft. And other than the fragility of these ducts, this thing's a really nice aircraft. It turns really hard, but it still just does not quite have enough power. Once you really push it to full throttle, you'll find yourself bottoming out here and there. But with this Aurora, they have actually used brushless motors here, and these are 1104 7500 kV brushless motors. So it has to have speed controllers on it, which means it's got a little board on the bottom, which is all 4 speed controllers on one circuit board, and then right above that you're going to have your flight controller, which it's a newer flight controller. You could reprogram it with the USB port, and you're going to have to use Betaflight because it's a Minicube F3 6DOF flight controller, and they have programmed a lot of different features with Betaflight, including a beeper, the tail light strip, and one of the nicest features about this aircraft is the on-screen display. You'll notice this camera here has more than just the power and negative. It's also got 2 extra cables there for your video in, because your flight controller can use Betaflight and send some telemetry to your camera, which gives you your on-screen display. Now, this camera is very similar to the camera that was used on this aircraft here, which I actually took off and put on the QX90C here because the camera mount works a lot better like that. But this aircraft's camera does not have the wiring for the on-screen display. So this camera is a nice new addition, and because it's such a nice camera, and I did get really good range with this camera, they've built in this really nice camera mount / camera protector, because the camera is actually just stuck in with a piece of double-sided sticky foam in there, so unless you get like a twig cut in your antenna, it's pretty nicely protected. It's got this nice aluminum piece on the front here, which makes it look really nice. And altogether it's a good idea and a good design, and I found it really, really strong and sturdy. Now let's talk about this aircraft's durability. This thing is very nicely constructed. It is extremely solid. You'll see that you've got your carbon fiber base plate here. You've got aluminum spacers and then your carbon fiber ducts and your camera mount all locks into place, and everything is extremely rigid, and it's a very, very durable aircraft. And the way this aircraft flies, it is basically an extremely stable, smooth FPV experience. You're not going to get the same hardcore speed that you're going to get out of a Chaser 88 in the hard turns. But if you're going to be trying to race something like this through a gate or through, small obstacles, it's going to take much better piloting skill, and it's going to take a lot more practice. But the Aurora90, this thing holds its line really well. So you want to go straight, it goes straight. You want to turn, it turns. You want to maneuver through tight obstacles, you can easily, quickly maneuver through tight obstacles. This is a really good FPV racing drone for somebody who wants to get into the hobby but doesn't really have that much experience flying around FPV and wants something that's really strong and really durable. Now, that being said, this aircraft does have one weakness, which would be these 50mm propellers here. Extremely thin so that they can move really fast, but they're also extremely fragile. And I've already broken 2 blades on just very light crashes into trees. So if you're going to pick one of these up, definitely pick up a whole bunch of extra propellers, but other than that, everything else on this thing is a freaking rock. I mean, it's very strong, very durable. It's using a 7.4 volt 450 milliamp battery, and the speed controllers are only rated to use 1 and 2 cell batteries. So this is the most powerful battery you're going to get up in here. You might be able to get a higher milliamp rating. It's an 80C battery, so it's got a really nice high discharge rate. It comes with a little piece of Velcro to strap it onto the bottom, and this little Velcro strap. Not really a fan of constantly landing on my battery and scraping it up, but it really does give it more than enough power to do what you want. I didn't have any trouble with this thing bottoming out on me. Did have a couple of issues on trying to do hard, sharp turns here and there when you're pushing it to full speed. This isn't really a full speed racer. This is more of a get into the, tight obstacles and fly through tight things and do it really smooth and really easy. This is a really smooth, fun, easy racer to fly. So if you're looking for your first FPV racer, this is actually not a bad choice at all. And they really tried to include everything you need in the package to try and keep this aircraft in the air. You've got you an extra set of rotors. You've got a really nice instruction manual with everything you need to know about what pins go where, how to bind to multiple different types of transmitters, all types of settings, all the different modes. It's actually got an 8-channel receiver in there, so you've got one switch for arming, you've got one switch to change your mode, and they've even programmed in the switch so that you can flip it and have the beeper go off if you lose the aircraft, which is a really nice feature. And it comes with extra screws and screwdrivers and wrenches, and the packaging itself has been really nicely finished and designed, and they're pretty proud of the fact that it's got Betaflight on it and LED strips and the OSD, of course. So I'm going to have to install Betaflight if I'm going to take a look at and reprogram the Minikube flight controller. But this FlySky AFHDS2 receiver, I had no trouble binding to it. The range was pretty good, It's got a, decent antenna on it. Everything on this aircraft is pretty nicely put together. This camera is extremely tiny. It's got buttons so that you can easily switch through frequencies and channels. It's got little LED lights on there that'll display what channel or frequency you're on. And of course, it's got the ability to have an on-screen display input soldered directly onto it. So it's a very nice camera, very nice system. The on-screen display is a little limited, but you can program in more. The on-screen display basically shows you a bunch of statistics about your battery usage and battery life and so forth, but you can definitely do a lot more and upgrade this aircraft if you really want. So that's the Eachine Aurora brushless FPV racing drone. Been looking forward to trying out a ducted fan brushless FPV racing drone for a while, and you know what? This thing definitely lives up to the name Aurora because it looks beautiful in the sky. Flies great. It's a lot of fun. It's a little pricey, but definitely a good way to get into the FPV hobby. As always, we appreciate you guys tuning in to RC101 with the Taoist Flyer. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share, and stay tuned for more.